Hello friends. Welcome back to Wonderfully Made Bible Stories for Children. I'm so glad you're here. Last time, we heard about a borrowed axe head that fell into the Jordan River. What seemed impossible to recover was returned. And we learned that God cares about even the small troubles in our lives. Today's story is very different. An enemy army is coming. A city will be surrounded. A servant will be afraid. And God will show him something that had been there all along, but he couldn't see it. Are you ready? Let's jump in. The king of Aram was at war with Israel. Again and again, he made plans for where his army would go. But each time, the king of Israel seemed to know what was coming. The king of Aram was confused. How could this be happening? At first, he wondered if someone was telling his secrets. But his servants explained that Elisha knew what the king was planning. God was revealing these things to Elisha. The king of Aram decided to capture Elisha. He sent horses, chariots, and soldiers. They traveled during the night and surrounded the city of Dothan, where Elisha was staying. The next morning, Elisha's servant woke up and looked outside. The city was surrounded. Soldiers were everywhere. Horses. Chariots. An entire army. The servant was terrified. He hurried to Elisha and told him what he had seen. Elisha was not afraid. He told his servant not to fear. Then he explained that there were more on their side than on the side of the enemy. The servant could not understand. All he could see was the army around them. Then Elisha prayed. He asked the Lord to open his servant's eyes. God answered. The servant looked again. This time he saw something he had not seen before. The hills around Elisha were filled with horses and chariots of fire. God's army was there. They had been there all along. The servant had simply not been able to see them. Now he understood. They were not alone. God was protecting them. As the enemy army came closer, Elisha prayed again. The Lord caused the soldiers to become blind. Then Elisha led them away from Dothan and into Samaria. When they arrived, the Lord allowed them to see clearly again. The king of Israel wanted to attack them. But Elisha told him not to do so. Instead, food and drink were given to the soldiers. Afterward, they returned home. And for a time, the attacks stopped. God had protected his people. Let's think about this story together. Why was the servant afraid when he first looked outside? What changed after God opened his eyes? Were God's horses and chariots already there before the servant saw them? What does this story teach us about trusting God when we feel afraid? Sometimes we only see the problem in front of us. But God sees much more than we can see. And even when we feel alone, God is with his people. Thanks for joining me today. Next time, a city will be trapped. Food will become scarce. People will wonder if help will ever come. And God will keep a promise that seemed impossible to believe. We'll find out next time. Until then, remember, you are wonderfully made. Bye for now.